Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We are here with Eric Voss from New Rockstars, giving us the breakdown of the finale of Loki Season 1. Of course, Season 2 is coming eventually. We don't know when yet. That was a fantastic finale from Loki. Very excited to see his breakdown of this. I think there's a lot of hidden details in it, especially at the beginning. The beginning had like a bunch of dialogue from past movies. It had Captain America's or Steve Rogers music, his apartment music playing. So much stuff. Greta Thunberg, Neil Armstrong, Nelson Mandela, I don't know. All these scientist people, it had a lot. Here we go. Let's hop into it. Eric Voss, take us away.
New Rockstars, I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Loki Episode 6, the season finale for All Time Always, which deprives us of Jet Ski Mobius, but makes up for Jonathan Majors' wickedly talented performance as He Who Remains.
Love it.
Variant of
Very good actor here. This is the first thing I've seen him in too.
And all the details of this episode, so let's break down this finale frame by frame to celebrate me.
Frame by frame.
For a change. Also, you can get our Loki-inspired merch at newrockstarsmerch.com, like our Loki Out of Time shirt and our Loki Gator Polo and a Mobius on a jet ski shirt, but the window is closing fast, so you gotta jump on
for all time. It even says for that's kind of cool. Oh, I kind of want that one.
It's been a long time by Harry James and Helen Forrest, which first played in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and then more memorably in the final scene.
We reacted to that. You can go see my reaction to that movie. For some reason, it was the only one I hadn't seen.
Have destabilized He Who Remains sacred timeline. Then we hear other iconic sounds from MCU past, which at first play over the character as they appear in the Marvel title animation, but then build into a cacophony as the timeline orbits around his citadel in a flat circle, time unfolding all at once from his perspective. But because I'm insane, I've broken down pretty much everything hidden in here. Iron Man's pulsar.
Yep. That's sick, dude. Oh, they put so much detail into it.
Congratulating Ant-Man during Civil War.
Way to go, Tic Tac!
Way to go, Tic
Van
Tac.
Dyne flying to Scott Lang and Ant-Man.
That's how you punch.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's how you punch.
Hulk roaring.
And he went and got all the scenes too. That's crazy.
T'Challa's salute in Black Panther.
Wakanda forever! Wakanda forever!
Spider-Man's web shooter.
Oh, that's a small sound. Jeez.
Ant-Man.
You wouldn't have heard of me. No, you wouldn't have heard of me.
Natasha talking to Coulson in Avengers.
Let me put you on hold. Let me put you on hold.
Peter Quill in Guardians of the
So
Galaxy.
much.
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
Thor in Ragnarok.
He's a friend from work. He's a friend from work.
Cap versus Cap in Endgame.
This is so cool that he went and got all the scenes too.
I can do this all day.
I mean, if you know where they're from, it's not that hard, but
Mjolnir, I think reverting to Cap.
I think I knew where most of them were, but there's some small sounds in there. Really? That sound was in there?
Younger Hank Pym in Ant-Man.
I'll show you ferocity, and I'll show you ferocity.
Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel.
Higher, further, faster, baby. Higher, further, faster, baby.
Yeah.
Loki to Thanos in
I had
Infinity
subtitles
War.
on so you could see who was saying each line,
Korg to
even
Loki in
though it's
Ragnarok.
pretty easy to tell. Yeah, Korg.
On that ginormous spaceship. You wanna come?
Bucky in Winter Soldier.
Who the hell is Bucky?
Peter Quill planning in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I have part of a plan.
So far, we're really going frame by frame. Jeez.
I got red in my ledger
They put a lot.
to wipe it out.
Doctor Strange to
I like how it
Dormammu.
matched the characters that are popping up in the Marvel logo too.
I've come to bargain.
Vision to Ultron.
I was born yesterday.
Yeah, this was all just
To Loki
mumble.
in
Like,
Avengers.
I'm
Thor
surprised
to
he got
Shield's
this.
big guy in Thor.
You're big. Fought bigger.
Fury's speech in Avengers.
There was an idea.
Stark.
Is there an I am Iron Man?
Hawkeye's speech to Wanda in Ultron.
You are an Avenger.
Loki's
Wow.
final words in Infinity War.
Way more here than I thought. I thought there was just mutters and mumbles at the end.
Banner's big line in Avengers.
I'm always angry. I did hear that one.
I'm always angry.
Hank Pym and Ant-Man and the Wasp.
You sent my suit through the mail?
And it sounds like the voice of Carly
Why didn't they put any
Morgenthau in there
Stan
from Winter
Lee
Soldier,
cameos? He could be like Tony Stank.
and Caecilius to Doctor Strange.
Time is the true enemy of us all.
I always forget this dude's name. Wow.
And then it ends with the
Even though he
song
just said
Baby
it.
Cry.
Yeah.
This one was actually
Is that
hard
not?
to find, but
That's
it
not
is
from
the
any.
sound of baby Loki crying in that
Oh.
flashback in Thor of Odin taking enemies
Wow.
across giant ward.
Eric just had to really quickly watch every single Marvel movie. Eric, Loki is such an ugly
Now, you'll
baby.
notice there's a bit of a Loki bias
Ross
among
Giant.
these, since this history is being filtered through the perspective of
Probably
a
'cause the
witness
series is Loki.
observing Loki's entire life start to finish in particular. Then we pull out from our solar system, now hearing a lecture from philosopher Alan Watts about time.
Yeah, the scientists.
Watts argued that time isn't really the past causing the events of the future, but in truth, just an imaginary concept that we perceive from where we are in the present, similar to the non-linear way He Who Remains perceives time. And then we zoom out from the galaxy
Makes
and we hear Neil
sense.
Armstrong's first words on the moon. Meanwhile, a mysterious ship soars
Then I just
past
heard
us.
Greta.
This doesn't look like any of the Guardians of the Galaxy ships, nor one that NASA would use, or one that I think Sword would use, especially this far out in the solar system, but I'm thinking it could be one piloted by Kang enemies, the Fantastic Four. And we hear the voice of climate
that'd be
activist Greta
sick.
Thunberg. As all of the galaxies, our
The
known
picture
universe
he
appears
used.
to be contained within this blue sphere, which then condenses and then explodes. Maybe a depiction of a Big Bang or
Yeah,
a future Big Bang.
that's what I was
an event
thinking.
that would have created the Infinity Stones.
Infinity
Then we hear the voice of
Stones.
activist Malala Yousafzai.
If you zoom into that pixel there, you could see the
and
time
then
stone.
the voice of Nelson Mandela.
This was sick. And then the music.
As Tchaikovsky's
Ah.
music from Swan Lake plays, representing a battle between light and dark, like the apathetic yet still benevolent
That was my favorite part of the
variant
intro,
Kang
just 'cause of the
versus
music.
the darker, more menacing variants who end up conquering in the end. And we realize everything we have just seen has been set inside of one black hole that neighbors another as the music shifts.
Just like
a
his
radio
little
dial to
statues that
Beethoven
King
pyramids.
used. It's just multiverse to multiverse.
Which he wrote
That
as an
music.
ode to his lover, perhaps reflecting the way Kang's actions may have been für Ravonna. Everything we're seeing here is really an astronomical geography of the spatial relationship between these universes, which He Who Remains later describes as stacked on top of each other.
Mm.
Then we dive into that second black hole, a separate reality now, as we hear the voice of classic Loki from last episode.
Yes. So this is our
Briefly see one
Loki
planet
series
colliding
reality.
into another. Perhaps this was
think.
Lamentus 1. And then we stretch
Oh,
into a
yeah.
live frosty 2001 Space Odyssey Stargate as we hear first Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's 2006 speech.
Jesse.
They put a lot into this.
By women throughout the world.
And then Vision's
Wow.
big line from WandaVision.
What is grief if not love?
Yeah.
persevering? What is grief if not love persevering?
And then poet Maya Angelou. That was from a poem with verses about her history being rewritten, which does happen to Sylvie and Loki at the end of this episode when no one remembers them. And the final things we
Oh,
hear in
yeah.
this montage are Sylvie's voice from last episode.
Open your eyes.
And then some Morse code beeping. This could be the 1962
Morse code.
message that was beamed out to space. And we see
Ah.
the Citadel at the end of time with this cracked design, which is also reflected in He Who Remains time twister on his wrist. And
Yeah,
his
everything's
tableau
broken
goo.
but
Looks a lot
fixed.
like kintsugi pottery, representing how He Who Remains likely had to piece it together from broken
Looks like the Dead by
shards
Daylight
of that
5th anniversary
massive
logo.
Universal War to create this kind
It's
of
all
neutral
cracked with
ground,
gold and stuff.
foreshadowing the way that this timeline will splinter and crack once more in the episode's end. Flanking this entrance are two giant hourglasses. And staying true to the series' Wizard of Oz parallels, their slow walk down the hall does mirror the nervous walk to meet the wizard. Just to reveal that man behind
Oh, yeah.
the curtain is a far more comedic figure than we expected. But before we even get there, Miss
Ugh.
Minute scares the
Oh my
shit out of
God,
us
yeah,
in
I
this chamber
died.
with looming hooded figures with
I actually
clocks
died.
for faces. Kind of like a creepier form of what Miss Minutes essentially is, a clock-faced greeter. And note how later she's late to meet Renslayer, therefore she cannot be in two places at once. And she offers them this deal.
He's
Oh
working
yeah, I never
on
really
so
thought
we
about
can
that.
Reinsert both of y'all back into the timeline in a way that won't disrupt things.
Similar to the offer made
That's
in the
Miss
Matrix
Minutes
to
deal.
Humans. Really,
That's
this whole
not from
episode is
Gang.
kind of playing out like the architect scene in Matrix Reloaded, but a lot more fun to watch. Miss Minutes offers Loki his chance to rule.
You can kill Thanos.
Yeah, Natalie Holt's violin theme returns, the music that played over Loki watching his own life back in episode 1, but not to his own death, but to the deaths of Frigga and Odin.
Oh yeah, wow.
That is who he's really thinking about in this moment. A chance to see
He could
them
save
over
them.
again. Now, trailer footage showed some shots of King Loki on the Asgardian throne and back at the top of Stark Tower. Presumably, these were going to be shown here as Loki imagined these possibilities. Now, back at the TVA, Renslayer notices Mobius.
I guess they didn't put those in because that's not what he was really imagining.
Which could connect
He didn't
to
care about being
memory
king.
reset at the end of this episode, making me wonder if the TVA could have been reset before all this many times, similar to how in the Matrix that was actually the 6th incarnation of the
But just like
Matrix.
coffee
It's
rings
a
saying
mystery
stay
file.
for some
This'll
reason.
be more useful.
Who?
Yeah, notice how here Renslayer does not seem to know who He Who Remains is, but in the later scene, she suddenly seems more agitated, and she gripes that he's the only one with free will. So what did she learn from this file? Well, later Mobius reveals that Renslayer actually came from FDR High School in Fremont, Ohio.
And her name was
2018,
different and everything.
where she was apparently
It's
the
like
principal
Rebecca.
based on her having an office, and that Ohio State diploma listing her name as Rebecca
There it is.
Tormenay, an alias that Renslayer
Mobius
actually
got a
used in the
different name, too.
comics when she goes to the year 1903. So I love it. She goes from a name sounding like Terminate to one sounding like Slayer. Now on her desk you'll see more
Oh, that's
pens
true.
like the one that we saw. And around this school are posters of FDR, but also Eleanor Roosevelt in her office, and then a bunch more posters of coat drives, and this being homecoming week. And that is interesting
Oh,
because
homecoming.
homecoming is of course normally in the autumn, but autumn 2018 in the MCU would have been a few months after the snap, which occurred
Oh,
in the spring
yeah.
of that year.
Oh my gosh.
Perhaps this coat drive is for displaced kids and families during the blip, and the reason she joined the TVA could have been blip related, because Ravonna Renslayer is of course Kang's love interest in the comics. So maybe here in the show he
I
has
completely
something
forgot 2018 is
for her,
like
she could have been
post-blip.
destined to have been dusted, and that could have left behind a child who died without her. So to keep her sacred timeline self undusted and that kid safe, she continues to work for Kang as his objectified doll.
I have to believe
Whoa,
they had a
that's
reason.
deep.
But here, upon learning this truth, she leaves through this time door,
Where are you gonna go?
In search of free will.
which could be her searching for a reality with a different Kang.
Free will
variant
is
who
Kang,
might give
yeah.
her a better deal, which could lead to the Kang the Conqueror, who overtakes the TVA in the
I
final
wish.
scene.
What if that
By the way,
statue
most
was
of
like
us have a goal
Ravonna?
that we want to
That'd be
accomplish,
sick
but
too.
For some reason, back in the Citadel, Loki
Alright,
and
we
Sylvie reach a
skipped
chamber
it.
with these ceiling cogs and pendulums, bells, but then on the floor, a depiction of the lunar cycle. All of these are various ways of keeping time, but also timekeeper statues. 3 still standing, but a 4th one shattered. In the comics, there was a 4th timekeeper named the Oracle of Siwa, who was exiled to ancient Egypt for informing the Fantastic Four of events to come. Perhaps this statue
Huh.
was shattered during the
I wish we
past
could see its
multiversal war
face.
between Kangs, and He Who Remains couldn't put it back together. Or this could be some evidence of a past attempted uprising in one of the past TVA resets, where one of the timekeepers betrayed He Who Remains to help a variant get to him, and then He Who Remains responded by expelling that one faulty timekeeper and destroying his statue that represented him. But then the man behind the curtain we've been talking about is revealed.
He who remains. She still calling me out. Creepy. Right. I like it.
Yes, He Who Remains is actually the name of the elderly TVA caretaker at the Citadel at the End of Time who builds the Timekeepers in the comics. And although he's never explicitly named Kang in this episode, He Who Remains is 100% confirmed to be a variant of Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, I don't know why
Jonathan
people
Majors
keep
was cast
saying-
as Kang for
Yeah,
Ant-Man
he's
and the
literally
Wasp:
cast.
Quantumania. He is
People keep
dressed
saying,
like Immortus, who is another
"Guys,
form of
he's not
Kang from the
Kang."
comics. He said that
He's
his
still
period
a
was from
variant,
the
so-
31st century when Kang Nathaniel Richards was born. He calls himself a conqueror. And yeah, this pays off all the clues the show has given us, from Renslayer to Alioth to the Tower for Kang Enterprises, the shell company, Renslayer's ID of A23, which was their appearance together in the comics Avengers 23. You notice how here the light casts his face in blue, like his comic book look. Now notice he eats an apple, which could mean a lot of
True.
things. First, it's a symbol of Newtonian knowledge, boink. And later on, in his office is this chalkboard with equations that use integrals. And if I remember from calculus AB in high school, this is calculus, and Sir Isaac Newton is credited as
never
a
did calculus in
co-creator of
school.
calculus. But the apple
never
also
had to, I
recalls
guess.
Doctor Strange's use of an apple to first demonstrate time manipulation in the MCU, but also reminds us of that episode 2 word problem from Miss Minutes that asked about the last MCU big bad, Thanos, using him eating apples as an
Oh
example.
yeah.
Of course, apples are also associated with the forbidden fruit of the Garden of Eden in the Book of Genesis, used to tempt Adam and Eve by the serpent. And in this episode, He Who Remains offers these Adam and Eve figures chances to be gods and refers to himself a few times this episode as the devil. Now, to pull off this effect of He Who Remains dodging
Does he?
Sylvie's Sylvie's blows. Hiddleston and
I don't
DiMartino
remember
must
him
have had to
referring.
shoot
Oh,
their
yeah.
action on the
Actually, no,
green
I do.
screen and then had to be layered into that elevator with Majors. But this render was left just rough enough around the edges that leaves the characters and us feeling emotionally detached from this seemingly untouchable immortal. He Who Remains reveals this is all scripted, and we see if you look closely at his book that Sylvie is ID'd as variant L1190. And notice how he lifts that book. I like how he does a subtle little adjustment of his time twister to draw attention to it, since this is the key to controlling the room. And I think he ultimately wants
He even
Sylvie to
teleported
take
outside the
control
elevator
so
with
that
it.
he can respawn in a more dangerous
It's not just like he can
form. And I think the
rewind,
Council of Kangs
go around
know
like
that
the
Loki and Sylvie's
time
union
watches or whatever.
made them true nexus
Temp
beings
pads.
that threaten their empire. And so He Who Remains really feigns this candidness with this phony offer to replace him, while really he is driving a wedge between them the whole time.
It's all a manipulation. Interesting that your head would go to that. Sylvie!
Oh, such a
He Who
character.
Remains later says,
Without the TVA, everything burns.
Jonathan Majors is having a blast, hamming
Yeah.
up the eccentricities in this jaded, sing-songy tone. He's constantly moving to new physicalities just to punctuate and liven this monologue. Kind of like a guy on the last day of his job. Super dangerous, super fun to watch. You could actually compare
Apparently
him to
he
Heath
was-
Ledger's Joker, who also says similar
Yeah.
words.
Everything burns.
And when he's seated at his
He was, like,
desk,
running
he's
around
framed
set and
with his
stuff.
head
I
in the
heard
middle of
quotes
a
on Twitter.
spiral window in the background, kind of like the whole universe orbiting around his egomaniacal personality. And he explains a variant of himself in the 31st century discovered parallel universes the same time as other variants.
For a while, there was peace. Narcissistic, self-congratulatory peace. I love your shoes. I love your hair. Oh, man. Nice nose. Thanks, man.
Yeah, Majors might be joking about his own recognizable nose, but really he knows he is sexy. We see how the Kang variants.
I was gonna say it, but I didn't wanna. Don't wanna make fun of people's noses.
Pruning sticks the TVA use, but they ended up in this multiversal war, meaning that Miss Minutes animation was actually telling the truth about that, just that it wasn't the time
Slightly
that
altered.
it. But He Who Remains apparently repelling these even worse evil Kangs.
Oh man. Yeah. I wonder if the fourth statue was him, but he didn't want to be like seen as a conqueror. So maybe that's where the fourth statue was destroyed.
Every scenario. This is the only way.
Similarly,
I don't know why I
Doctor
just thought of that
Strange
right
said
now,
he
but-
saw 14,605 future outcomes, but that only one was a successful way forward.
There was no other way.
Now, of course, He Who Remains' offer is very much like a Willy Wonka style offer to them to take over his job. But I love how Majors nods at that with his pose here.
Or you're a liar.
Or Malaya.
Yeah, laying it on his fist, just like the
Oh my
Wonka
gosh.
game. And as he says he is
Oh,
older
wow,
than he
that is
looks and
identical.
this game is for the young and hungry, the camera pulls back from him, making
They
it
actually did that.
smaller and smaller, more diminished in the window spiral as
Yeah.
if his influence
I
is
noticed that. It goes
fading.
back,
Then he
goes back
snaps at
in.
Sylvie.
Grow up! Grow up, Sylvie! Murderer! Hypocrite!
Similar to how Caecilius called out the Ancient One.
Hypocrite!
Because among sorcerers, no one really has the moral high ground. But then everything shifts in this scene.
But now, you have a chance to do them for a good reason.
And I'm guessing this happens, the threshold, because all the Minutemen aren't fixing timelines right now. Because Mobius just woke up all the
Yeah,
Minutemen.
that thunder was the sound of the sacred timeline breaking up. And fitting to use thunder for that, because as it branches, it
Yeah,
does
people
look
were
a lot
confused
like
on this part, but I'm
Eve,
pretty sure it's just
evoking
because the
moment
Minutemen are
Ancient
being
One
woken up.
slowed down time in the moment of her death. A similar moment where she, just like He Who Remains here, could not foresee beyond that point. So what caused this? Ravona's pact with another Kang? Or could He Who Remains justifying free will subversion have been the thing that Sylvie decided she was just gonna kill him no matter what Loki told her? Either way, that break makes it so that when Loki returns to the TVA, it has already
think I know what the
been
break-
reset
why the
so
break
that
happened.
A different Kang is now ruling over this one. He Who Remains removes his time twister and slides it over, but notice how his gesture, again sliding his hand across the table, and the framing makes it look like it is still on his hand, which could be a clue that this offer is really a bait and switch because both alternatives lead to his victory. Loki and Sylvie duel, and upon their early clash,
would be
He Who
very good
Remains
symbol.
jumps in his seat in the corner
Eric
in
thinks about
excitement,
stuff
similar to how Palpatine
so
loved
much.
watching Luke and Vader fight. And before that, Anakin and Dooku
But maybe the
fight, because
directors
either
do too.
way, the mastermind has already won. It's so tragic to see these two fight, largely in the way it parallels what Loki told Sylvie as an answer to what love is back in episode 3.
Love.
It's a dagger.
It's a weapon
to be wielded.
And that's exactly what happened.
Or up close. You can see yourself in it. It's beautiful until it makes you bleed. But ultimately, when you reach for it.
I knew the metaphor
Yeah,
meant
Loki
something.
wields his love for Sylvie up close and can see himself in her, but she makes him bleed. And when he reaches for it, it isn't real. Instead, classic Loki's wisdom really reigns supreme.
The blades are worthless in the face of a Loki sorcery.
But despite all this, Loki does make a key concession.
All I know is I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to throne.
Oh, that's just an emotional scene, dude. Tom Hiddleston's so
Simply that
good.
he learned the core lesson that Sylvie laid out for him earlier this season.
This isn't about you.
But as he tumbles back through the time door into the TVA theater, the window lights on the floor go in opposing directions, which is odd because presumably they're coming from the same exterior light source. The way these lights parallel Loki and Mobius's opposition in episode 4, they
Yeah.
now mirror the opposition between Loki and Sylvie. But on a more literal level, it also shows how this new TVA that Loki has found himself in does not revolve according to the same gravity as the old one did. So Sylvie stabs He Who
Oh yeah,
Remains
so maybe
and
it
he
is a
winks and
completely new
says,
universe.
yeah, back in episode 4, after Sylvie beheaded the Timekeeper android and the other two shut down, if you listen closely, you could hear a voice whisper, "See you soon."
Whoa.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, is that pareidolia or is that really him?
Back then, and now his wink confirming it to her that she truly has had no free
Wow,
will in this
what?
battle. The
They hid
sacred
that
timeline
all the
splits
way
into
in there?
branches of branches, and the chronomonitor screen confirms that many of these branches overlap with each other. And looking back at the
Oh,
cosmic
yeah.
version of it, some regions grow a
And the
bright
timeline
red,
is like
which could be
wibbly
the
wobbly.
version that we saw in WandaVision's post-credit scene, and been the cause of Wanda suddenly hearing her children calling
Yeah,
her
that
from
whole red
another
thing around her could be the timeline.
So yes, we are looking at the multiverse of madness that Doctor Strange 2 will
And
take
Loki's gonna
place
be in that
where the
too. Scarlet
will
Witch,
be the
Loki.
rising threat he has to face. Perhaps even the logical basis for how Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, and Jamie Foxx Electro will appear in Spider-Man No Way Home. Hopefully we get a trailer for that very soon. Meanwhile, Loki finds
think we
the
will.
TVA change as he passes a bunch
Monday.
of hunters who don't really care about him. It's hard to tell,
Maybe
but
not,
one
but-
of these must be Hunter K5E. Listed in the credits as Eugene Cordero, meaning Casey must have either got promoted or in this alternate TVA, instead of being a desk clerk, he gets to be a hunter. And then in the
Oh,
archives, he
that's
finds
kinda cool.
Mobius and B-15, who have no
Casey.
idea who he is, which is really odd because even before he was a detained variant, Loki was the freaking god of mischief with an infamous reputation. So this must
Yeah,
have
so
been a hard
none of them-
memory wipe reset.
yeah.
The Timekeeper statues have
Very
been replaced
strange.
with He Who Remains variant. In this case, it is Kang the Conqueror, which we know because he's wearing his Conqueror wardrobe. This might remind you of that final twist in Tim Burton's 2001 Planet of the Apes with the Lincoln Memorial.
I need to
But
watch
just
that.
look at this.
I probably
The
I watched it
TVA
as a
may change
kid.
on the
I don't
timeline,
remember
but
a
its
single thing.
creator is now, thanks to Sylvie, for all time, always. And the credits confirm that Loki will return for a second season, and with Kang's confirmed appearance in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in February 2023.
Rest in
I
peace,
think a
Scott
season two
Lang.
could come at the end of 2022, or maybe in the first weeks of 2023.
I feel like
We did
2023
Ant-Man and the
takes a
Wasp,
while to
but
make
a
these
Quantum
things.
Realm city in the
But
background
if
that
it's just
I've
6
been
episodes
theorizing
again,
could be
maybe
Kang's kingdom
next
of
year.
Chronopolis. And Kang in Quantumania could live beyond that film to be the villain of a future Fantastic Four film or an Avengers Secret Wars conflict. But whenever we see Kang next with an actor as talented and versatile as Jonathan Majors, it would not surprise me if he brings a whole new characterization to his Conqueror variant.
Yeah,
We still
seriously.
have much to learn
This is
about
just
him,
his,
and
like,
that is what
goofy,
makes him so
good-
dangerous
good
and
guy
so
Kang.
delightful. I want to thank you all so much for joining me on these breakdowns of Loki.
Thank
This
you.
show is a true masterclass in
I didn't
world-building,
watch his
storytelling,
breakdowns
and
for
I hope the
Falcon
details
Winter
and
Soldier,
connections
and I
I've been
should
able
have.
to find have enriched the viewing experience for you. Don't worry, I'll be back with plenty more Marvel theories and future breakdowns.
Thank
So
you.
be sure to subscribe to New Rockstars. Follow me on
Do it.
Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss. Follow New Rockstars. Thank you again for
Do it.
watching. Bye.
Oh, Eric, I'm gonna miss you. But he'll be back for What If. Almost guaranteed he will be back for What If. And we'll be watching What If here on the channel, so subscribe, look forward to that. I'm pretty sure What If is gonna tie in directly with this. Like, I feel like it's just gonna be multiversal. I mean, it is multiverse stuff. Captain Peggy, what's her name? Captain Carter. All that stuff. Why is my recording paused? Is it still going? Oh my gosh. Okay, that was weird. I don't know what just happened. My recording stopped. Hopefully it recorded all that. Please. Anyways, yeah. What If is probably going to tie in directly with the events that happen after this. A bunch of different multiverses and what ifs that happen, but not just what ifs, but they actually did happen in these other multiverses. So I'm pretty sure that's going to tie in directly with the MCU. It's all canon now. Everything's canon because everything can be explained as its own multiverse. Venom, all this stuff, Morbius, whatever you want. All the comics could be MCU stuff that has happened. I mean, we saw Thanos copter, so I mean, everything exists now. Everything's canon. It's a type of multiverse where it's not just very different variants of different people. It's like everything has happened in the exact same way for all of time, but with small changes. Like maybe there's a whole variation universe where Loki picks up the Tesseract with a little more pressure on his pinky. Like every single scenario of every single thing through all time has always happened. And that's crazy to think about. But Eric was here. He broke it down for us, broke down the episode. Can't wait for him to break down What If. There's probably going to be so much in What If that's hidden. Because with like just animation and art, you can do even more. So very much looking forward to that. And it's going to be longer apparently. Well, maybe 20-minute episodes, but still like 10 episodes that are 20 minutes. So that's pretty long. But yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you, New Rockstars, for the breakdown. I really enjoyed the breakdown and the beginning. Just seeing all the scenes that they had. Like, they put so much detail into that. So much. And then the copying of Willy Wonka when he was, like, putting his, leaning on his arm and stuff. Like, I didn't even realize any of that. So, yeah. That was great. This has been a great video. Subscribe to New Rockstars, first link in the description. And that's it for Loki Season 1. That's it, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.